Jai Hind and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. This special episode on Xi Jinping, whether he has left, present, or in the future. I hope you get the context. There's a rumor going around that Xi Jinping has been arrested, he's been deposed of his position, and somebody from the military has taken command. The rumor mill actually says that Xi Jinping, the minute he landed back from Samarkand after the SEO, was arrested and put into house arrest. How far this thing is true is anyone's guess. China is a big, great firewall. A lot of people would not realize it. But before I get General Shankar into this conversation, I'd like to mention I was reading a Chinese blogger who mentioned that this is an elaborate operations from the Indian side in terms of information warfare. That put a smile on my face, if nothing else. Sir, thank you so much for joining me for this session to decipher what's happening in China and what are the repercussions of something like this, along with Xi Jinping standing himself.
Well, it's a very interesting development which has taken place. Coup or no coup. Um, I mean, to be very honest, a coup is an event, right? But when you look at China, you're looking at a continuum. Let me dispel thoughts at the beginning. If Xi Jinping goes, some Ping Jinping will come in. Okay, so China won't change, and that guy will also be a communist. So how much of change will happen is a $1 million question. But having said that, um, anything of this nature induces instability. And instability in a country like China, the way it is going at this point of time, is going to affect us. So, to that extent, I think we need to analyze the whole thing and put it in perspective. At the outset, I'd like to put it across that so far it's only a rumor. Uh, Whether we don't know what the actual situation is, the Communist Party state, nothing will come out as it is. There's a firewall there, and that firewall will be reinforced at this point of time. But there are indications that something is amiss. Okay, um, we can, whatever this thing you say, and I'll run you through a presentation which I've put across, which I've compiled to, you know, put the whole thing in perspective, and then we can discuss.
Absolutely, sir. Guys, thank you so much for joining in. There seems to be good interest for this particular subject, and of course, as some people mentioned in the comments in the last video, thank you so much for that compliment for General Shankar and myself, with regards being the dynamic duo of China
Mm.
analysis. Thank you so much for that. That's a little big for me, as a matter of fact. But sir, there is anybody who would want to justify this particular event and say that a coup has actually happened would look at Xi Jinping's policy, would look at the kind of pushback Xi Jinping has been getting in, what he's done to the economy, what he's done to the foreign affairs and stuff like that. It is there are loads of things that would support that particular argument. I personally feel that's one of the biggest reasons why this argument is being bought in today's time. How do you look at that, sir?
Yeah, I agree with you. There are a lot of things, and what will do is we'll look at the present, and then we'll go a little back and see how this is developed and why this is developed. If you
Oh,
put the slide on, we can start with that.
absolutely, sir. Guys, by the time the slide comes on, please do hit the like button, check your subscription, and yes, of course, if you can help me out, please do contribute to the Dev Talks efforts with the options mentioned below on your screen. Sir, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yesterday, BBC in the evening at about 4:40, and this is yesterday's thing, they put out that there's a plot to overthrow Xi Jinping, but actually they've left it vague without end. Okay, but then we all know that Xi Jinping rose to power on his anti-corruption drive. This headline from South China Morning Post appeared about 4 days back,
Mhm.
but it says the fight has grown more political and it's far from over. So there's going to be more anti-corruption, you know, drives by Xi Jinping. In fact, the total is about 5 million people who have been put behind bars or exterminated as per this in the past 10 years. Now, some of the, uh, you know, along with the news of the coup, co-terminus with the time plot, these are the headlines which have come in South China Morning Post in the past 1 week. They've spoken of Chinese political clique leader Sun Li Jun faces life in jail, right? Then former Justice Minister Hu Shenghua, he is jailed for corruption. In one single day, three top Chinese police chiefs are jailed for corruption. There's a Chinese spy who's been expelled from the Communist Party uh, in their interagency and dispersed. All this has happened between 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Only one has happened a little earlier. So there is something happening.
Hmm.
Okay. What's happening? Are these chaps for Z or otherwise? Doesn't We don't know. But it appears these chaps are all against Xi Jinping. Oh, yesterday, day before, people said, look, there are not many flights over Beijing and all. This is the flight which you took and you sent it to me of Beijing airport at this point of time. If you see the time, it's 6:22 China Standard Time today. Hardly a handful of aircraft. You can count the number of aircraft going into
May I also there? These are the three airports of Beijing, by the way, the
Beijing.
two blue
Oh,
ones
yeah,
and
red. Out of all these, there are just about 9, 10 aircraft coming in and out of Beijing. And it's just 6, half past 6 in the evening. This is live. So you can imagine that there is the flights are still off. This is a WhatsApp forward I got from someone. I just thought I'll put it. I mean, WhatsApp is it's like, Wikipedia. But then it's interesting. He says, ask nephew in law who lives in Shanghai. He's been living for 20 years there. Global head for an international company. Had to go to Beijing yesterday. He said all flights were cancelled. This was yesterday. He had to go by train. And when he got there, security was very, very strict. He was made to open his bags and they confiscated his Dio cannon aftershave. Right? Something is definitely brewing there and this is received from an impeccable source just now. Well, all this, they're all strands of information. If you put them together, something will emerge. We all know. Uh, Again, this is a headline of yesterday. China sticks to zero COVID policy as management failures and public misery mount. This seems to be against Z. Again, South China Morning Post. So there is something amiss. Let's not have any doubt about it. What's the state of Z or his opponents will know. Oh, katapiti hoga abhi. They must be chopping each other's bloody necks off. So you will find headless bodies and bodiless heads loafing all around. Okay. Oh, let me go back in time a bit. You see, this is that Vedahe is what I've shown in the center.
hmm.
Vedahe meet happened, if you remember, we discussed about this in one hour thing that happened sometime last month or month before last. And normally this meet is for about a couple of weeks, 10 to 14 days. If you remember, we said, look, this finished in 7 days. And after that, what happened? Xi Jinping went to Liaoning. You remember that? He went to
Hmm.
Liaoning. That's the place where Mao started his long march.
One went north, one went south. Yes.
Yeah, and the other guy went to Shenzhen. That's where in Deng Xiaoping area, Li Keqiang, who's the prime minister.
Hmm.
So at that time also, I remember I said, look, what is this? Something happening. We didn't understand it fully, but now if you look at it in retrospect, this point, I said, they went in opposite directions completely. This is what I had written. China and color revolutions. This was uh, just on the day or one day after the SCO, right? I'll highlight these things. If things were right. Now, what is the color revolution? Color revolution is revolutions which have happened mostly in post-Soviet states, and the revolutions are known by the color. In Ukraine, it was an orange. In Kyrgyzstan, it was yellow. Tulip revolution. In Georgia, it was the rose revolution, and in Libya, it was called the Cedar revolution, green. So these revolutions overthrew autocratic people. That's the whole idea. Okay. Oh, if you remember, sorry, if you remember when Xi Jinping was in Samarkand, and he said that one should be careful of color revolutions X, Y, Z. And 2 days later, when his public security minister Wang Hizyong spoke in China about a color revolution, he wrote a detailed article in one of the party mouthpieces, and he stressed on the loyalty to the president. He told all law enforcement agencies to clear risks, maintain stability, prevent political security risks first. Then he spoke, this is a long sentence which I just reproduced. He said, coordinate efforts within and outside the country, im- right? Online and offline, and carry out in depth anti infiltration, anti subversion, anti terrorist, and anti secessionist struggles to vigorously safeguard the security of state power institutions and ideology. All this came out 1 or 2 days before the coup story came out. Okay. Hey, you look at both of these. What's wrong? There's something wrong, that means. And that's what I had written in that, article of mine. Now you look out of the whole story. These are headlines which have come out this month from, you know, South China Morning Post. China's foreign firms struggling to survive. Consumer factory inflation to continue to falling over coming quarters. More China pledges more help for internet economy. That means it's down. Then peak season gone bust for Chinese exporters and plummeting demand. So the exports are also tough.
Hmm.
Then he's talking of will urbanization be China's new economic engine as population shrinks. So population is shrinking. Okay. And what is interesting, I mean, this is interesting. They have a total of what 11 million people, 10 to 11 million people entering the workforce every year for the
Hmm.
past 3 4 years. And for the past 3 4 years, they have got only 10 million to 11 million births. So the births today are equal to the you know uh, graduates of today. 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, the graduates obviously will decrease. So there's a decline in China which is happening. And the map which I've shown you is the drought map of China. And the drought is going on. It started in June, it's going on. The temperatures have fallen, but the drought is there. Poyang Lake, which is one of the biggest lake, is at red water levels.
Hmm.
Okay. So their economy is going to get hit badly. Let's not have doubts about it. Right? Okay, there's some other. You see, ByteDance has cut hundreds of jobs. And he says China must adapt accordingly to cope with population and technology headwinds. These are the issues. Then, if you see the one with the notes rate cut, it's cut bank interest rates and all that. It's gone through two rate cuts. Then nothing has happened after that. On
Hmm.
the right corner, you see drought, and it's threatening their rice supply. On the left, you see China savers at risk as China's small banks face perfect storm. The center one is important. Everything is unknown. Chinese cut spending as economy falters.
Platters. Hmm.
All this is in the period of 1 month. So obviously things are not hunky dory there. There is a bloody economic problem, and people are now panicking. For all you know, all these things. I mean, if this is there, what you and I can see, what will be the thing inside China where we don't know what's happening? Okay, so there is a problem which we need to understand, which is now gone down. It's seeped down. And
Hmm.
it is possible that the Chinese party, Communist Party itself is panicking. Remember, the contract between the Communist Party and the people are you give up your freedom, I'll give you everything else. That everything else तो टप हो रहा है इसको देने के लिए कुछ है ही नहीं तो फ्रीडम क्यों देगा आपको वो खुद कलर रेवोल्यूशन के लिए तैयार है ओके next when China is a systemic rival to the world, that's what people have said. And these policies have converted a thriving and growing economy into a sluggish one over the past 2 years.
Hmm.
Multi-storied buildings are being demolished as part of the real estate problem. And then youth are in despair, they're in a helpless mood, everything is unknown. If all this is the state, I'm sure there will be a color revolution around the corner. You don't have to say. And then further, UN has put them on the rack with their human rights issues. They, China has gone through earthquakes, a severe drought, and typhoons. All three put together in one season, never before. And climate change is descending on them. What is their response? Response to all this is debt-fueled infrastructure, which is at best risky but downright foolish. Why is it downright foolish? They want to build more high-speed trains when the current occupancy of high-speed trains is down. They want to build canals from south to north where the south is having a drought. Okay, so look, if I can sitting here in India can think of all these things, people who are there, it's their life. They're obviously China is shaken. Okay, right. Let's assume there's a color revolution or something near or a coup in China. Whatever the reason, it doesn't matter. A decline is imminent. You'll agree with me on that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now let's
I'd
look
say
at
the
the truth.
decline has started, sir, as
No,
we've
it
discussed
is.
multiple
Yeah, I
times.
agree with you. The decline has started. When I say it will not recover, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if Xi Jinping purges his opposition and becomes the uncontested king without any semblance of an opposition, he will hasten the decline. उसका वैसे भी पूरा left policy है. He'll kill the private sector. He'll isolate China further. He will protect his position, and China will decline further. Okay. Let's say if there's no purge and Xi Jinping survives, okay, he survives the coup. He will be a king constantly under threat from the unpurged opposition.
Hmm.
And the specter of a color revolution or a coup will always color the horizon. In that case, he will weaken China further. He will only वो अपना गद्दी को पकड़ के बैठेगा and he'll keep purging around left, right, and center, and he'll be worried about others. If there's a coup, there's anyway instability.
Then to.
Uh, so whichever way it goes, the color of the coup, imaginary, or real, or contrived, it's all set to take China down the slippery path. That's the thing which I'm more interested in. Like I told you, Xi Jinping can go, P Jinping will come in. मेरे को कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. What I'm interested is the last one, last line. The crux of my presentation is that last line, and all this I've explained in great detail in my article. Okay, it is just prophetic. Someone has told me that look, I had to come out with that kind of a article. Yeah. So I mean, I did come. I mean, it was staring at our face actually. All this was staring at our face. It's just that now it is blown over into open public. And of course, when I must tell you, when I first put that article out, I hardly in the first 3 4 days, 100 200 people read it. They thought it was a useless article. Suddenly, when that coup thing came, now people are reading it. Look,
Funnily, the same for the one that I wrote. Also, nobody was
yeah, yeah,
interested.
yeah. Nobody is interested. Yeah, see, the problem is everyone thinks China is a unbreakable megalith.
Bull.
It's not so. It's a very weak state, which I have always been saying, and I've been saying for the past 2 years. Everyone thought I was a hawk. Everyone thought, ये ऐसे बोला ही जा रहा है.
Yeah, you may not
So
get Twitter type updates there, but there's enough that the Chinese put out to tell you that there's trouble.
yeah, and I keep telling you, all what I write and read about what I read and then write and explain in videos or in my articles is from Chinese sources. And if you read Chinese sources, the writing was on the wall at least 6 months back. Okay, that's when I first started writing articles about Chinese decline.
So,
Remember,
sorry,
I mean,
I'd like to interrupt you 1 minute, sir. I
yeah.
think the pet monkey is here.
Ah, that's okay.
So I think we are hitting the right spot somewhere.
Hmm.
This looks like a hired clown which is sitting somewhere in
Oh,
our
take it, take
dressing
it, take
room.
it. Take it. Oh, yet he's not monkey here, a donkey है अभी.
हाँ वो
वो donkey
अपडेट
है
होगा ना
भाई.
सर बट वो
नहीं नहीं,
सीनियरिटी
वो सीनियरिटी में ठीक है. वो पहले मंकी था.
हाँ
मंकी
अभी
में तो दिमाग होता है थोड़ा बहुत. अभी डोंकी
हाँ।
बन गया. वो दिमाग नहीं है, बके
अच्छा
जा रहा है. और वो भी पाकिस्तान का इम्पोर्टेड डोंकी है ये. चलो.
डिमोशन हो गया सर।
डिमोशन हो गया. हैं? ये धीरे धीरे देखो अगला. देख ये डोंकी ना कुछ दिन चलेगा. उसके बाद वो सुअर आ जाएगा. पिग.
But it's
चलो.
quite funny, sir. One thing that comes out here about this entire thing, and the reason I wrote my article is that I found the whole Xi Jinping's behavior in the SEO to be very, very weird. I mean, for a man who literally was the boss of the entire forum, I mean, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. I mean, let me not just say anything more. Shanghai, where is it? China. Here's a guy whose body language was very scared. He was not very this thing. He went into Kazakhstan first. It didn't kind of set right. Kazakhstan is like the mouth for the BRI. Fair enough. Point taken. He didn't meet anybody there. There was no interactions. Modi Saab goes, hugs everybody, this, that. So there was a different thing that you could see. Even Putin was very friendly with a lot of the leaders that came there. And he ran away from there. So that put, I think, the first suspect of this entire thing into motion. Uh,
Look, what you're saying is Adi is 100% right. The day he spoke about color revolutions, my antenna
yeah,
got
that
up.
was a crack.
Okay, I knew there's something wrong. Okay, and it got confirmed the day he ran away from there. And next day, this other chap wrote that article, and then in fact, you'll be surprised. I wrote that article just after reading what that security minister wrote. Immediately, I said, "Yeah, there's something wrong. Let me write." And I wrote. I mean, and I put it out. I went to Financial Express. I said, "Yeah, please put it out immediately." As anyway, we'll see how it.
No, but it's an interesting development, sir. But because I think some time ago you and I had discussed the USA's grand strategy with regards to the world and how they want to go forward with it. Uh, Russia, whatever's happening there, is not a part of this discussion, so we'll leave it away and we'll probably address it another time. China, the strategy seems to be working. There's pretty much a lot of doldrum happening in China, and even the Chinese are, as a matter of fact, there are internet civilization has been brought in as a term where they are cracking down on codes and stuff like that. They've been told no bloggers, no vloggers, no cameras and stuff like that next to Beijing for the next 25 days. So there's sort of a strengthening up of curbs which is coming in China. So there seems to be a little bit of extra nervousness this time.
Oh yeah, there is. Look, there is another reason. If you see, Joe Biden has been repeatedly saying, "You mess with Taiwan, you'll have, America will come to the fore, and you'll have to contend with America." Now it's very easy to say, "I'll sort out America, I'll sort out Taiwan, war and all that." Does China have the strength to do that? If China
Yeah.
doesn't have the strength to do that, look, the Biden has been very clear. The Chinese see what's going on in the rest of the world. We don't see what's happening in China. So Biden's communication has probably gone down to everyone.
Mm.
He's thrown a challenge virtually to Xi Jinping and the Chinese. You try something, we'll sort you out.
We'll sort you out and we'll sort you out by us.
Yeah. No, whoever.
Yeah.
That means all this big talk, oh, I'll capture Taiwan one way or the other, X, Y, Z, and all is all bunk. And it's all hollow.
Mm.
Okay, it's all a hollow. He says, I by 2027 I'll be ready with my PLA to go in. By 2027, even Taiwan will be ready to welcome you and more. The more the focus on Taiwan, the more difficult it is. Okay, so same thing as with India. As days go by, China will have no leeway to do anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they'll have to step back also. Right. So that's the dynamic which is going on. In this dynamic, Xi Jinping's position internationally is at risk.
So,
Okay. Let's not have doubts about that.
absolutely.
It's at risk. Okay. And so the outflow will be a coup, color revolution. Which color we don't know. Whether it's the color of the purge, also I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how it is. Yeah.
So, I'm gonna just hit out at the audience questions a little early in the
Yeah.
program today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's make it a little more interactive and a little more fun. Of course,
Yeah.
this is not a confirmed news that we can talk about, but having
Yeah.
said
But
that, the
we know
premise,
what's happening.
yeah, the premise I want to actually discuss, and guys, I'd like you to kind of consider this particular thought before you put out certain questions. Is that, let's say he is gone, or let's say he is not. Either ways, what are the repercussions going forward in terms of the Chinese position in the world? A lot of people might just think, yo, अगर Xi Jinping चला जाएगा तो LAC से वापस चला जाएगा. These are questions that will be coming across. So let's think in that particular aspect, and let's try and interact with Shankar and take it forward. So before I begin, guys, please hit the like and subscribe. Of course, if you can, do contribute to Dev Talks. You can hit a at the moment you can do a super sticker or super chat. You can become a member, or you can directly donate or contribute on the UPI mentioned right below. And of course, guys, there is also a WhatsApp group. If you guys want to join it, you can just drop me an email on the email ID mentioned. Let's start with the first one. The Western media is silent till now. Why? Is because Sino-Wahhabi alliance has so much control of the Western media. We saw it during the COVID-19 crisis that the Western major media was biased.
This is over the top. I think we'll give this question a pass.
I'd actually, sir, your first slide has a screenshot from BBC, so Western media isn't
No,
silent
it's okay.
about this.
That's why I said give it a
Uh,
pass.
yeah, so DW has
Okay.
picked it up, and there are
No, there
so,
are. It's not
yeah,
as if it's not. It's there. Yeah.
flight tracking site Flight Radar 24 shows Beijing Capital International Airport has come to almost a standstill, as relatively very few flights have landed and taken off from the airport.
Yeah, Sujit, I agree with you. We've just shown you that clip that was taken just 2 minutes before the program started.
Mm,
A screenshot from Flight Radar. So all why has this happened is to be thought of, right? Either the coup is on or not on. If the coup is on, there is one connotation. If the coup is not on, there's a purge on. One of the two. But something is happening. On that, we should not have doubts.
absolutely.
There is political instability in China at this point of time. Okay, I have shown you all the economic issues and all. Again,
Mhm.
see, these are not my imagination. These are written by Chinese fellows in Chinese media. I have shown you only Chinese media. I have not shown Indian media. Not a single headline which I have shown is from Indian media.
True.
Yeah.
And Jalsa, you hinted onto this. There might be a purge happening, guys. That can be a biggest possibility because that's one of the reasons. And the Xi Jinping has strong control over the PLA, so possibly he's doing
Yeah.
something, and it fits into the kind of purges that he's been doing
See,
in the past some time.
yeah. 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 Next question.
Right? Is it possible if anything like a coup has happened and no one in the world has been able to confirm that?
Yeah, that's possible. It's possible because we don't know what's happening. It could be a coup, it could not be an anti coup. We don't know. Right? It's not an open media. As it is, China is not open. So we don't know actually what's happening. But we know something is happening. That's what I said. That last slide of mine is important. It doesn't matter what's happening. China will decline. Its decline is already certain. I mean, that's a.
Mm.
It's not. It's no brainer. Uh, like I always say, it took two generations from the 70s to 22, 50 years, half a century, two generations. I'd say each generation, if you put it 25 years, for China to come from what it was to what it is today. Okay. It is going to take less than one generation for it to decline, and the decline is certain. That one metric I gave you today, there are 11,000 graduates and 11,000 babies. All these 11 million. All these 11 million babies will not become graduates. If all 11 million babies who are born today become graduates, who will till the end? Who will become artisans? Who will do X, Y, Z? Who will become sportsmen? Nothing. They can't all be graduates. If
Mm.
so, right? So it's, let's say even 50% thing. So 50% of your human capital is gone. It's irreplaceable.
And they want three children from that woman. So
No, no, both are out of question. There, no one is interested.
mm,
Okay, so let's not dream that suddenly China will start producing babies.
the
Yeah.
only way that can happen if they basically put it as a, it,
See, there is one more thing which in one of my articles I did analyze. Uh, the history of China suggests that empires last about a century to 2 centuries in China. After that, they collapse. Invariably, after the first century, they start packing up. The second century is always a struggle.
sort of
Okay,
the century of humiliation.
whatever. I
Mm.
mean, those are metaphors, but the history actually tells that this is the thing. So I don't remember that article, but I did do this. Uh, by the third century, there are some empires which have lasted third, fourth century also. Those are weak empires.
The king and
Yeah. For example, the Mongol Empire, Genghis
mm.
Khan, just lasted a century, 92 years, finished. It
Ouch.
was supposed to be the greatest superpower on earth at that point of time.
They went where
Uh,
all.
Where all? In 92 years, they've conquered three-fourths of the world at that time and finished in 92 years. So if you historically, the peak they passed the peak.
So the 20-cent army, and the reason I'm
Uh,
putting this across is, as you said, demotion हो गया. Value Pilgrim thinks because they called the 20-cent army, उसने भी demotion कर दिया भाई 10 सेंट ही मिलेंगे इस कमेंट के इससे आगे नहीं है.
ठीक है.
All right,
That's
let's
okay.
move forward. Dimpu says, if a coup has happened, Xi Jinping is ousted from power. Will China normalize relations with other countries, or else they continue their wolf warrior diplomacy and making other countries uncomfortable?
Oh well, look. Again, there's a $1 million question here. Depends on who's the guy who emerges after a coup. When a coup takes place, there will be a struggle for power.
Yeah.
See, when Mao died, Mao's wife with a gang of four,
Mm-hmm.
she wanted to capture power. It took about 5-6 years to push her out,
Push her out.
and then Deng Xiaoping came. Right. So we don't know which is the clique or a faction which will start coming up.
Or there'll be a combination of people that will come in.
Combination, and that will be like a coalition government.
Hmm.
Oh, that has its own dynamics,
Hmm.
all that.
Hmm.
And whether they'll have a strong leader out of this or not, we don't know. There might be a bloody crackpot who will say, I will go for war. Look, these are things which are very, very difficult for me to tell at this point of time. Again, if
Hmm.
you go into the history of China, when China was having one of its worst famines,
Yeah.
you know, that buffoon should know that Li Bi who jo bhi hai wo, right? That bloody donkey. I hope he's listening. When people in China were dying by the millions, 40 million people died in China at that time in the Great Leap Forward of Mao. There was famine,
Yeah.
and he was busy invading India. ठीक है ना? So we don't know whether China will become aggressive. Wolf warrior is a euphemism for buffoons,
Hmm.
right? Who know how to shoot their mouth off. Diplomatic, but we don't know how the PLA will behave, right? Though I suspect it might crack, my own feeling tells me it will crack. You know, we have to also understand one thing about China, and you draw an analogy with what's happening in Russia. We know that after that mobilization order by Putin, there are huge reports which say people are running out of Russia. They don't want to fight. Same thing here. They're all this entire nation who is over 50 is all single child. Why will they get slaughtered? Why will families want to get their children dying in the army in Tibet? So there's a problem in this. We'll have to see how it goes. The weaknesses are huge in this society. It's a societal problem.
Hmm.
And this societal problem is not something which I have defined, they have defined. They made it for themselves.
Yeah.
And they are now reporting about it.
Hmm.
That can't run away. And any political instability will only heighten that problem. I mean, we don't, many times we miss out that a country is made of people. People matter. If your people are not happy about something, it's going to reflect in the overall system. And today, Chinese people are not happy, except those donkeys who are braying. Yeah,
They
that's.
paid, sir. Unemployment is high.
भाई देखो पेड़ हो या ना गधा गधा होता है यार.
Ah, wo hai. I mean, of course. Right. How much time before we know whether the coup has happened? I'm saying coup. I'm sorry. When do we start shorting Chinese shares?
Oh, as far as I'm concerned, whether you short Chinese shares or not is your choice. But I think something will emerge by the next month's that party congress.
Mhm. As a matter of fact, there is an AFP update right now. I'm
Uh,
just putting it out there, which says, one second. Yeah, it says the Chinese Communist Party has put out a statement which says that all the party, it has elected all the delegates who will attend the 20th party key meeting of 20th party Congress on the October 16th. That's the first official communication coming out of China in the
yeah.
past 48 hours.
तो उसमें भी बैच फिक्सिंग होगा, कोई ना कोई करता होगा, वो देखेंगे. We'll see how it comes out. There's a month more to go. A lot of events will happen.
So,
Yeah.
uh, X's removal is inevitable, but will worse people come to power now?
I Mandar, I don't know whether Z will be removed also. Look, don't throw out Z. Huh? He's quite strong.
Hmm.
He's got strong. He's got his hooks into everything. He's virtually got every general in the CMC. He's cherry picked them and brought them. They're
Yeah.
personally loyal. There's a big gap between seniority of the generals and this fella in the military hierarchy. Same thing goes to the Politburo. He has cornered every important position with his loyalty. So let's not discount Xi Jinping at this point of time.
The chief of national police also is his loyalist. So
Yeah, everyone. But
there's a
most of the guys are his
long.
loyalists. Yeah, he's got a huge loyalist following. Yeah,
So it all went downhill when she changed the system to two terms and became the president for life. That's why, despite all successes, authoritarian regimes are always at the whims of their dictator. I'd like
uh,
to add something here. This changing of term is, you mentioned the changeover post this thing and the changing of term. It's a similar, and the Chinese are very scared of a Soviet style collapse. If you look at what happened in the Soviet Union at about 1953, when the bunch of four or five of these chaps, Khrushchev and all these guys took power, uh, it's are you hinting at something like that?
look, we don't know what he's this thing, but the fact is that we what Sachin has said is quite right.
Hmm.
It's one of the logical outcomes of whatever is happening.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't know what else will happen. I mean, you're now entered into uncharted territory. That's the point I'm trying to make. You entered
Indeed.
into uncharted territory, which is not going to be stable.
And probably not seen in our lifetime.
No, scene to hai. Iska look, I've been writing about the Chernobyl factor, right?
We've done a show on it
I've,
also.
yeah, I've written about 3, 4 articles that this will be the Chernobyl issue for China, the virus.
The virus.
Okay, the virus. Everything starts from the virus. I'll put it out again if you this thing. Slowly, with every time I write that article, the shade of that article and the hue of that article has changed. But China has gone down one step more towards instability. It took 5 years for Soviet Union to collapse after Chernobyl happened. It's just taken 2 years for this instability to set in. Okay,
These kind of things
yes,
take a long
this will
time.
take time, right?
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
At the end, we don't know whether. See, the difference between the Soviet Union and China is that the Soviet Union was a heterogeneous set of states, uh, right? Whereas this is a homogeneous set, 90% Han. So I don't know whether that way it'll collapse. We don't know. It might. We don't know. I mean, this is all, like I said, this is uncharted territory, uncharted time and space. But there will be problems and there will be spillovers. That's what we should be worried about.
Sure.
How am I bothered what happens there? Yeah.
Xi Jinping should have carried his kursi with him when he went outside China.
Yeah, I
Indeed,
agree with you. I
the
agree
rumor
with you.
mill says that he was arrested from the airport itself. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not propagating that rumor, but that's the rumor. Was
Was it?
SEO a untimely trap for Xi?
We don't know. Yeah,
And
we don't
and
know.
and 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 is he
Yeah,
alive?
we don't know. All these we don't know. These are all we don't know. Speculation.
I'm just putting them across because
Yeah, yeah,
see,
yeah. I understand. I
the
understand that
kind of
completely.
interest that this topic is generating, sir, it's interesting.
Look, we don't know. We know what can we comment on? We know that for 2 years he didn't leave China.
Yeah, 1,000 days.
Thousand. He to the extent he didn't even stay one night in Hong Kong. He went to Hong Kong. He used to go in the morning and come back by evening to mainland.
Yeah,
What prompted him to go to this meet? Why did he go? Was he confident enough to go? Did he lay the trap? We don't know. He said, "Look, let me go. These chaps will do something. I'll catch them and put them in the can."
you never know.
Never know. All these things are.
Mhm.
See, China has
Absolutely.
a small. Yeah, I'll give an anecdote. In 2008, when they were conducting the Olympics, China was to open up X, Y, Z. So they said, okay, hereafter dissent is allowed in Beijing. You can dissent. So yeah, they said that. But they said the only thing is don't keep doing all this all around the countryside. We'll give you a place where you can go and do dissent, like the Ramlila Maidan in Delhi. So all these dissenters went there. The moment they went there, they were rounded up and thrown into jail. End of story. End of dissent. So
That's why I
something
was
like this.
laughing. That's exactly why I was laughing, sir.
So that is exactly what Xi Jinping might have tried also.
Yeah, yeah.
कि मैं बाहर जाऊंगा ये डिसेंट करेंगे पकड़ लो जो भी बोल रहा है अंदर कर दो इसको
You never know, sir.
एंड
You never know.
एंड नेवर नो ये सब हो रहा है अभी टाइम लगेगा 2 3 दिन वो तो करेगा लपेट रहा है सबको एक
If
एक
you look at what happened with Musharraf, was pretty much the same
या
thing.
या सेम थिंग या
Sir, what will be the effect, long-term effect on the
या
line of actual control if there is a change in leadership in China?
That's a good question. I first and foremost we'll have to see the contours of the new leadership change, or even Xi Jinping when he comes back, if he re-emerges, which I think he will. I don't think there's a coup. My own gut feeling says he'll come back. Uh, the whole thing dynamics will change because China has to be more inward looking. That's the first thing. So to that extent, the control on the PLA will reduce. Now the focus on the PLA will reduce. Now when the focus on the PLA reduces, there's always a chance of an incident happening. Okay. You also have to understand that there's a flip to it. Pakistan is drowning. When you look at the security system, LAC, everything, you can't discount Pakistan. Pakistan is in deep water. Uh, the chances of Pakistan now going to anyone's aid or doing two front situation, he is up gaya, right? He's gone. So will China do a lone hand against India? Difficult. And that too in the current environment where China is considered a systemic rival. Will China like to open up a new front? Because if the escalation is something with India, you cannot control. You
Mhm.
could, right? If it goes into a level where the bulk of PLA is locked horns with the Indian army, irrespective of the outcomes, if there's a weakening of the political situation in Beijing, and at that time Taiwan declares independence, where will Beijing go?
Oh, he's got a two front. He's got a
He's
two front. There's no
he's now
question.
they're in a two front situation
Yeah,
without
yeah.
doubts.
What he tried to put us in, he's fallen
And
himself in it.
if you remember, we had spoken of this two front
Hmm.
situation two
Hmm.
years back.
Yeah.
That China PLA is limited by the fact that it has a two front situation. It can never take the initiative, right? So all these dynamics will come forth. We don't know because I cannot comment exactly what will happen because we don't know the outcome of this government or Xi Jinping
That
or his
government or anyone for
or
that matter.
whoever is for that matter. Yeah.
So that's a nice all-seeing eye, I must say. If you can see everything, do let us know what's happening in Xi Jinping's house. But anyways, let's get to the question. No offense, but the dictators have a lot of power. They don't go away easily. It's diversion tactics. I'm sure they've made some plan. It's not as simple as it looks. I must say that's a very interesting comment, and that's something that Sir is also hinting towards.
We don't know. So why this thing? I mean, I
Yes, sir.
agree. It's a what is happening today is a fluid situation. In a fluid situation, the trick is to feel the pulse. You feel the
Absolutely.
pulse, you're one step ahead of the show. Okay. I mean, why again? Don't think I'm making my point or make aggrandizing myself. I felt the pulse when the SEO summit was taking place. Okay. I would like all of us to feel that pulse. You feel the pulse, you know what's going to happen, what's going to come ahead.
Exactly, sir.
Yeah.
Charles says, is it correct to say Russia and China had a plan to use the pandemic to bring a change in the world order by hedging food, gas supply chain disruptions against sanctions, and US withdrew from Afghanistan hurriedly to deal with them?
Well, no, that's too far fetched.
Too far fetched.
That's too far fetched. Let's not go into that. I mean, I will not even answer that. Yeah.
Will the fall of Xi have a defining impact on our northern border? A lot of people are. I brought this up because I guess
Yeah, I
one of the things
agree. No,
that
no,
people have.
no, no. Totally take his point. Let's look at it. Whether Z falls or not, there's going to be
And
an impact on the border.
yeah,
I mean, we should be very clear on that.
but it's not going to be hunky dory, shaking hands, and
Shake no,
zula
वो नहीं
zula
होगा.
thing.
There will be because you don't know whom to shake your hands with there at this point of time,
True, true,
right?
true.
You don't know whom, and you don't know how much control is there within the system. So let us wait. The northern borders, we have to be more tight. We have to be more tight on the. वो हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना सतर्क रहना चाहिए.
Hmm. Uh, Indians haven't spent time reading, studying about the CCP as much as the Pakistanis. I
I
wouldn't.
agree with you completely, Manivannan, Chokalingam.
We
This is
spend a
my
lot of
crib.
time towards. Yeah.
We have if we I have spent my half my lifetime reading about China, uh, and now I feel I can get the pulse. And what I see in the public, where people talk, are stereotypes. They're not able to sense where China is strong or weak. Okay, and they're and a fair lot of Indian people who write on China, who discuss China, are the ones who have gone to China, seen those airports and shiny, structures, X, Y, Z.
Become enamored with them and stuff.
Yeah, and now they come back and say, "Oh, what's China become?" Look, let me be very frank. I have not been to China. I don't intend going there. I know if I go there, they'll not come back. All these donkeys will catch me. Okay. I have seen China only across a fence or a border. Okay. What I've seen of China from there doesn't inspire great confidence in me. I've read China from 1991. That was when I did a first presentation in the army. Great presentation. One of the best presentations I've done in my life, 91. When I didn't have an internet, we didn't have anything to do. I could, you know, do a presentation on the terrain of Tibet. There is a lot of information about China resident in India. We don't read it. I agree with Manivannan when he says, so people talk about what is they see, what they're fed, and it's part of the information
What they've
warfare
been told.
campaign, told
Hmm.
to talk, and then they talk what they have to. There's no doubt China has progressed tremendously. On that, there's no two this thing. But I'm not interested in how they progress. I'm interested in what their weaknesses are.
Manivanan, I would recommend please be a regular supplier, the subscriber of this channel. We are hardcore focused on China, and trust me, we
And
talk
not
about it
only
very often.
hardcore focus on China, I don't even quote one Indian author. I don't even quote one foreign author, only for a comparison, for a mirror effect. I go by what I read by, People's Daily or the China Daily or Xinhua
So,
or South China Morning Post or Global Times. These are four
true,
things which
true.
I can, right? Yeah.
Mr. X, I must say your name is very familiar. I wonder if all the news of the coup is a subterfuge.
Could be. Let's wait and see. Like I said, this coup might not happen. Yeah.
I think Value Pilgrim, you seem to be in a little bit of a run. Is she jumping? Is she lying flat? Maybe she is just letting it rot.
Yeah, it could be possible. So,
If dictators go down, there's a lot of power that is vacant. Army can take foolish decisions. Actually, that's what General Shankar was hinting to.
yeah, any instability in China, we should have our guards up.
Very about.
Okay.
So Aditya says, what is happening in the MEA? If you can give us some clarity on how things will proceed with regards to China and India ties if there's a
Well,
coup. I don't think
MBA will not let me come near them also.
they will also keep quiet. They will not say
They
anything.
no, MBA will not let me come near because no, भाई वो तो official है, वो तो सरकार है. They are more intelligent than I am. So why should they let me go there? They have official channels and official information. Yeah.
This is an interesting question. Just a scenario: if BRI fails, huge economic crisis is looming. If that happens, implications on the Indian economy.
Oh, let me put it this way. BRI has failed. So what's the great economic crisis about?
Nothing will happen.
Nothing has happened. Or because the individual countries will fail and they'll not be repay China back. Already that's happening. China has been forced to convert all these loans of BRI into grants
Hmm.
or revise the thing. So nothing will happen. China will suffer on that. Let's not have a doubt. China will sink.
Bharat Vichar says, bottom line, whoever comes to the top of the situation in China, heads are going to roll. Well,
Yes, I agree with you completely.
absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll have to see headless bodies or bodiless heads. But separation will take place.
Which color would this revolution be? Red one, and it won't just be symbolic.
I agree. We don't know. I mean, this will not be a typical color revolution the way we have thought it. So So it could
Yeah.
be something else. We'll see how it goes.
I think you, sir, are on a roll, buddy, I must say. Shall we christen this revolution as a color yellow?
Let's see. Let the revolution take place.
Venki Saab says, I would quote both General PRS and General Rajiv Narayan as so long as CP remains in power, no matter who comes and goes, India would remain their number one enemy for China.
I
QED.
agree with him completely. Right?
Absolutely
There's
amazing.
no doubt about it. We shouldn't have doubts about it. They'll not tell, but we should not have doubt. Yeah.
There is news about Russians having stopped gas supplies to China from Gazprom. Russian intelligence knows something. I am not aware of this. So,
Yeah, no, there is the fact. There's this fact. It's a fact which has come out. I wouldn't say it's a fact, but there's news come out that Russia has stopped gas supply to China,
hmm.
basically to support Xi Jinping. We don't know the actuals, right? But this news has come out. So let us again. We are entering a zone of high uncertainty. So till more, definite news comes out, we'll have to search in the dark.
Jasmine says, all we need is for them to lose the heavens mandate with inverted commas.
Yeah, yeah. Heaven's mandate तो they lost long back. देखो हमारा हमारा ना बड़ा सिंपल तरीका है. People say China is part of the Middle Kingdom. अगर आप उसको हिंदी में वार्तालाप करोगे तो हम बोलते हैं वो त्रिशंकु स्वर्ग. What is त्रिशंकु स्वर्ग? It is that स्वर्ग which is neither स्वर्ग nor जमीन. Right? If you read this thing, I think Vishwamitra went to त्रिशंकु स्वर्ग. तो ये सब त्रिशंकु स्वर्ग के निवासी हैं, मिडिल किंगडम वाले. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, that was nice. I think some guys have really a funny bone today, and keep it up. It's really interesting. Sir, ये तो होना ही था because in 2008 Xi Jinping met the Prince Rahul Gandhi, and we know the
Yeah,
spy
well,
case.
like Abhishek, let's leave Rahul Gandhi out of
Leave
it.
that
Let him do.
poor guy
Let
out
him
of
do
it.
his yatra.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing for him. He'll learn about India, all right, and he'll maintain good health. So we'll leave him out of it. We'll leave our domestic politics out of it.
The best time to be offensive and create mischief on LAC. Brahmos mistakenly on China.
No, no, we don't want to do all that.
No,
We don't
no,
want
no,
to
no.
look provoke them, and you might find something
Have a
different
problem.
happening. Yeah, we'll
Have a
have a problem.
problem. Yes, sir.
Like I said some time back, the best way to deal with Pakistan is to ignore them. The best way to deal
Hmm.
with China is to ignore it at this point of time. Let them do what they have to do.
Yeah, I mean, getting involved in these kind of situations.
We
Some of you have
shouldn't.
written a comment. Why doesn't India kind of do something? It's murky, and
It's
it
not worth
has
it.
loads of blowbacks. We've faced two of them in Sri Lanka and other places. So let's just
Yeah.
wrap up. Run through a couple of comments that I have not taken up. A weakened China and Russia, a broken Russia and a China. What will the West focus on next? Iran, I think.
No, no, I don't think so. They have a long to
Yeah,
handle both these will take some time. It's not so
sometime.
easy.
Mm.
Yeah,
And if
just
the
because they've been weakened or broken, it doesn't mean they've run away. They're still there. They're still big countries. They're still
and
important economies. They're still technologically important. So it's not. Let's not
yeah,
berate them.
as far as Russia is concerned, the second round of the game has just begun. So let's see. I observe from a long time that when Chinese people are against Chinese Communist Party, then China's in panic mode always be on.
Okay, fine.
That's
With right, that's his view.
yeah. Uh, yeah. Okay. There we go. Is it true that CCP is actually most afraid of the common Chinese people?
That's right. There's no doubt about it. Like I said, there's a social contract. You give us your freedom, and we will give you all the material comforts. When that contract is broken, you have to fear people. and that's on the
So I
verge
want
of
to talk
breaking.
about this particular question. Now, the Russia feel threatened by China.
Oh, I look.
Just a
If
small comment.
no, no, you have to read history. If
Yeah,
you read history, China has been threatened always by Russia from the northern plains. It's not the other way
even
around.
now.
Even now, their worst defense, where China has always been invaded repeatedly, is from the northern plains. That is why you find the Great Wall of China is against the north, not the south. Yeah,
A lot of people might not know that the Chinese even today keep 150 of their top line fourth generation fighter aircraft on the Russian
near
border,
the Russian border.
even as Xi Jinping and Putin are doing no limits
And
partnership and
yeah,
stuff like that. So, right. Uh, last comment, sir. China's contract was the opposite of the one Bose gave. You gave me blood, I'll give you freedom.
well, I agree. Whichever way you put it, Sachin. Okay.
And of course, I can't miss Mr. Venki, who says the West, especially the US, would be worried for using an adversary and a huge arms market.
No, too premature to talk of this.
Yeah, guys,
Too
see,
premature.
I think it's a great situation for us to discuss, and I think we've gone through quite a bit of this thing. I mean, we can go on. I'm sure a lot of you would be interested. That there's so many more comments that I've not read as of now. Thank you so much for being so active today. Uh, but it's already 1 hour, and I think it'll be a little difficult for us to drag
Yeah.
this
Well,
subject forward. Guys, thank you so much, sir. Especially thank you
thanks.
so much for joining for this particular live. It's an interesting subject. Time will tell. Probably we'll have to do an update once Xi Jinping either makes himself available for a photograph or any other news that comes out from that
Yeah.
country. We'll probably revisit the whole situation. But the bottom line, as Sir has said, and as a matter of fact, a lot we on Dev Talks have been saying for a long time, is that China is in now a steady pace of decline. For it to switch back is going to be very difficult. There is issues within China, just like any other country, but the issues that China faces today are difficult for them to resolve. On that note, sir, uh, guys, please do check out my website www.thedevtalks.com. Just down there, I've updated it quite a bit. All of my previous videos are on the website, so you can actually see it by subject, by speaker, and so on and so forth. You can please do like and subscribe to my channel, and of course, if you can, do contribute to Dev Talks, through the options which are mentioned below. Till next time, for another subject on another day. Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind. Thank you.